Well, but he's just not a teacher. Black people now want to be taught. They don't want to be just spoken to. They want to learn something now. They want to clear the smoke.
So what is his purpose?
You have to ask him that. You can't ask me what his minister of fire conference. You have to go to him and ask him that.
What up? What up? What up? Hey man, listen, we're tapped in for another installation. Your boy M.O.I. I'm on high right now. I'm having a great time giving y'all this information. I'm excited about today, man. Listen, I'm excited about today. We're gonna get into it, but y'all already know the first order of business is please get your pen and your paper. You can see in my glasses the reflection. I'm surrounded by like 3 different screens. I'm running my own studio right now. Crom, get us a building, brother. Get us a physical building so we can have this Crom TV network going crazy on them. But for right now, shouts out to Crom TV for allowing me to be a part of the network. I am Minister of Information. In case you don't know who I am, I'm over on my own platform on YouTube at the Minister of Information. I'm also over on the infamous TikTok, which y'all guys know I love TikTok. It's a love-hate relationship, TikTok, though. It's a love-hate relationship over there with me. But I've learned how to navigate through those murky waters. So I'm on TikTok as well as the Minister of Information. Of course, I'm over on Instagram at the Minister Informing over on Instagram. And I want to welcome you all to this midday tap-in. This is the midday tap-in. Happy holy day to all of the Yehudis, all my Hebrew Israelites. Today is Saturday. It's a Sabbath. I got my libations right here. Got my libations for Saturday, holy day, for all of my Hebrew Israelites family. Shalom, 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 peace and love. Let's hop right to the comments real quick. Don't get into this thing, man. Let's see what we got checking in, tapping in one time. Rael Sankofa, peace and light, peace and love, family. To you, we got Rising Phoenix in the building. Peace and light, peace and love to the Rising Phoenix. Of course, some of my top 5 favorite here. Solo 5000 always checking in, holding us down, man. Appreciate you, boy. Baby girl, peace and love. Master disciples, absolutely. Get those pens and pad, pen and paper gang, man. Where y'all at? Tap in, pen and paper gang, tap in. If you with the pen and paper gang, man, put a pencil and a pad in the comments right now. Let me know y'all in the building. Excuse me. We about to take some notes, man. Islam bouncing vibrations back to you as well. We appreciate you so much. Who else we got tapping in real quick? Peace, love, maximum respect. All the disciples are here, man. There she go. I've been looking for you every time we go live. It's a couple of my ladies I've been looking for here. I be checking for you. I'll be checking for you. Peace and love, sis. Thanks for checking in. Appreciate you so much. Zai the Great, appreciate you, bro, for checking in, man. Appreciate you for checking in. Mac on the go, gang, pen and paper ready to go. I appreciate y'all, man. Pen and paper, man. Well, that's right. King David in the building. What's up, man? Tapping in from the Mississippi in the building. Man, listen, I'm gonna have to go to him one day and do a whole live just with Mississippi, just repping Mississippi. I gotta rock with the SIP, man. The SIP used to be my stomping ground back in the day, long time ago. Shouts out to Gaucher, Pascagoula, Moss Point. The deep SIP. Shouts out to the place down in Mississippi, man. Appreciate y'all so much, man. Will the room, peace and love. Listen, let's get those numbers up, man. We're only at 38 people, which is uncommon, unheard of. Crom TV. Let's hit the share button right now. Let everybody know we're live. Alert the building. I'm in the building. We're about to go in. Book 'em. Cali locked in. What's up to Cali? Khalifa territory in the building. Link. Oh wow, what an interesting title. What's the title? Breakdown. Harriet Tubman sells out. Hey man, it is what it is. Listen, the title is meant to get you guys to tap in and tune in, and it's going to make for interesting conversation. So I want to hear you guys commenting in the comment box. Let me know what you think. Of course, I didn't come alone. I brought some assistants. I got the high priest in the building. He's gonna pull out that geometrium calculator as we go over these individuals. If you missed the other day, listen, I just posted on my TikTok. We went over the history, but we got into Serapis Christos. Y'all heard me mention Serapis Christos 1,000 times. Y'all should know who Serapis Christos is at this point. If you don't know who Serapis Christos is, SERAPIS, Serapis, the Serapian temple of Alexander, Egypt. They were known as the Christians or the followers of Christ. So check that out. Now, this in BC time, which is mind blowing because it's before Christ that we know. They were called Christians already. But I just posted some on my TikTok page, man. If you have not checked it out, go check it out. This brother goes crazy with the geometrium. He's on here today joining me. Probably every time I hop on here. Anytime I hop on here, the brother got to join me because it's just amazing work what he do with the numerology. He breaks down the code. You know what I'm saying? He decodes it for me. I get him up here in a second. I'm gonna let him get situated. I'll get him on the chat in a minute. Who else we got in the building? We got Gene Martin. What's up? Marty, if I said that right. What's going on, y'all? What's up with the chat? Chat, you guys are live, man. Share this, man. Please share it. Please share it. Share. Pen and paper gang in the building, tapping in. If y'all with the pen and paper gang, man, put those pens and paper, pencils and papers in the chat right now for me, please. If you with the pen and paper gang, man, go and toss it in the chat for me. Let me know you in the building. I want to see who's here with me. You know what I'm saying? Who else we got in here? Corey Richardson, peace and love, peace and light. Listen, shouts out to everybody who's been sending me the donations, man. I am getting donations, they're pouring in. But we're going into a new week, and this is Saturday, it's a Sabbath. So I'm going to ask you guys, if you can, if you're able, we're going to try to do a $3 challenge today. The $3 challenge will go from this Saturday to next Saturday, and we'll increase it throughout the week. We just finished up our $2 challenge. I appreciate everybody who donated. And the reason I'm doing it is because I'm not out here soliciting favors for anybody or anything like that. This stuff does take time. The research takes time. It takes time to put this stuff together. I gotta get a green screen at some point. I'm getting a green screen this weekend, but this stuff in the background y'all see right here, this me creating this stuff, and it just takes time to bring you guys such quality content. I spoke to the good brother Crom a little bit earlier. Shouts out to him. Me and Crom was having a conversation earlier. Even the great work Crom does, man. Like this brother sits there for hours and hours and edits stuff down to where you guys, it's more palatable and you guys can consume it in smaller portions. So you guys are not getting these 3-hour long lives. But anytime I go live, I'm gonna be on here 2.5 hours plus. Okay, that's just how I have to do it. I can't hop out here for no hour and a half and give y'all the information. But the point is, we're both working hard. Everybody's working hard, man. We're working hard. So yeah, today to next Saturday is going to be the $3 challenge. So if you with it, you with it. Information is down below right here, scrolling throughout the whole live. If you feel compelled to donate, then hit that link. If not, that's okay too. Appreciate you guys. But I'm going to ask you guys to do something else for me though. If you're not able to do that, I want you guys to where's my email? Give me a second, family. Like a control operator. I'll put my email up right there. That's the email. I will ask you guys, if you are, shoot me an email, man. Shoot me an email, and I'll send you a link to the this dope website right here. Pen and Paper Gang. I created this site specifically for you guys. And I'm not joking about that. Like the Pen and Paper Gang resonates. And I put "Don't believe me" research. Okay. And these are the hoodies. These are some of the dope hoodies. And I'm gonna show this again probably at the end of the broadcast. You know what I'm saying? Can anybody promote you like you promote yourself? This says color coded, wanted since 1776. This is referring to the whole situation with black, nigger, and color were all labels given to us by slaveholders. Of course, on the front of it, it has the stolen birthright. This is exactly what they do with your children when they use your children's footprint to put it on their birth certificate. They're stealing the birthright. The heel, as is Jacob, the stolen birthright. God vibes. This is something that I just came and created. I particularly like it. We already know what this is. Matthew 24:4. Go read it if you have not read it. I'm gonna put out 2, 3, probably more joints like this right here, but you can order directly from the website. It goes up to 5XL. It comes in different colors. You know, if you ain't feeling the orange, you get purple. You can do green. And this is me creating this stuff for y'all. Like, it takes time to build a site and go in and modify it. The MOI ball cap is right there. The creator brand Scully. You guys haven't really seen much from the creator brand yet, but this is the logo for creator brand. This is anybody that's a creator. We got the pen and paper gang hoodies in the building. We got that in green, purple, orange, black, and of course pink for the ladies as well. For the fellas, we got the phone case. We got the charms, the coffee cups, the actual notebooks for you guys to take notes in. You know what I'm saying? So again, if you have not checked that out, please do so. But that's not why we're here. That is not why we're here today. And as I put you guys on this journey, or this sojourn, point intended, we're gonna talk about sojourn and truth also. We got 3 ladies in history we'll talk about, but of course, I don't want y'all to believe a word I say. Not only are you guys gonna be able to write the information down, you guys are gonna pull out your geometrium calculators. And I had to have the guy himself in the building, the high priest Antoine himself in the building, to bring us, to validate us, to show you guys that I'm not shucking and jiving. Like on the TikTok, I just posted the Kamala Harris joint we did. I wasn't even talking about Kamala Harris. I was talking about Serapis Christos. This brother done pull out the geometrium calculator and pulled up Kamala Harris and Lucifer at the same time. So without further ado, introducing the high priest himself, the high priest Antoine. Peace and love, good brother. How you feeling?
Hey, we pushing it forward, man. I'm feeling supreme. So we outside.
I love it. Feeling supreme. Listen, man. The only reason I posted that TikTok today, right, is because I went back and watched the video. And I never watched my videos. I just post them, keep going. And it got to that part. I said, did he just call out? I remember we did it, but watching the whole thing through, because I'm over here teaching, I can't watch it and teach it. So I had a chance to be the audience. And I said, yo, did we just pull out Kamala Harris out of Serapis Christos? And it was a couple more times you had did that joint, was just mind-boggling. So I had to have you back today. And just for the sake of man, if you have not heard his brother, tell everybody who you are.
Man, I'm the high priest Antoine, man. Just basically my goal in life is to help people to understand their spiritual contract through their name. Everybody is, have a conflict with their name sometimes, and some people don't like their name, some people do. But it's not the letters in the name, it's the numbers. And the numbers tell a whole totally different story about who you are. I can write a whole Library of Congress just on your name alone and tell you so many different things about your interesting life.
He's not lying.
That you have no clue about.
He's not lying. Listen, family, the brother the other day took my joint. And at some point we got to get the brother in front of a camera to let him do it. As a matter of fact, this Sunday, tomorrow, me and the high priest will be on here tomorrow, and he's gonna do a couple people, not too many people, but the point is to get you guys to set up your appointments to go holler at this brother. I can vouch for the work, okay? I can vouch for the work he and his queen does. Okay, I just shared the story with Crom that I was damn near crippled for about a week, couldn't even walk. You know what I'm saying? Until I got the healing hands. She asked me to not put it out there, so I don't put it out there. But I'm telling you, they're official. As official. Okay, check it out tomorrow at 5:30. The high priest will be in the building. I'm going to interview him, and then we're going to allow you guys from the audience to post a name, give us your name, and I'll let him take it from there. In front of a whiteboard. And that's what's the most impressive part. Because when I first started this sojourn, I had a whiteboard, no laptop, no notes, no Google search, just going off top of the dome piece, speaking for 4 hours straight. So I was really impressed at the fact that you pulled a whiteboard out, man, and you was able to download the information as we was going through the information. Again, the brother used what's called the Geometrium, and much more information. I call him a master cipher. That's what I call it, master cipher.
I like that.
Master cipher. That's what it is. So tomorrow, I think 5:30, tap in. We back on Crumb TV again, man. And by then we'll have your YouTube up and running also on the platform. So he has a YouTube also. Check his YouTube page out. You have to wait for either one of us to come on Crumb TV platform to go live. Like we have our own platforms as well. But as a collective consciousness, this is how we like to take over the airways. We like to Voltron our information and take over everything. It's enough light for everybody to get their shine over here. It's kind of a university of masterminds over here, if you will. So check them out tomorrow, man. High Priest in the building. So High Priest, as we do business as usual, as I go through the information, brother, holla timeout, yield the floor, and please add value. We're gonna go over some people think it's controversial. I don't find it to be very controversial, and I'm stalling because I forgot to pull my video up, and I'm gonna tell you where the controversy who it came from. As a matter of fact, hold on. Let me pull them up. Let me pull them up first because I'm jumping ahead. Let me see what he said. In fact, I can pull the video up real quick. Hold on, where is that? That's it right here. That's the video. I'm gonna share the video. Look, I'm all nervous and shit. Let me share the video. But this is the video that one of the videos that caught the most controversy when his brother said what he said. And what the fuck is going on? And I think a lot of you already know where I'm about to go with this. So today the subject matter is Harriet Tubman sells out, the untold story. But of course, I got to give some back history to why I decided to use that title, Harriet Tubman sells out. And as far as the African American community, we know what a sellout is, right? It's one who, for whatever reason, they choose finance over the people. They choose monetary gain over the people. They exploit their people for monetary gain. There has been the premise of a sellout in the so-called Black community. Oh man, she a sellout. Oh man, he a sellout. Shouts out to Julius Jordan for joining. Thank you for your membership. Appreciate it. There has been a stigmata behind a sellout. High Priest, to your understanding, what would declare somebody a sellout? What makes somebody a sellout?
Misusing your people for the gains of your own success. That's what we would consider a sellout. Somebody that's definitely just has their own hidden agendas for their own interests to use their people as a sacrifice.
Would you consider Judas a sellout, according to the story?
Judas?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, according to the story, absolutely. He was definitely.
If you're not familiar with the story of Judas, Judas was the one who, for 30 pieces of silver, because the troops, the Roman soldiers, didn't really know who this Jesus Christ was. Believe it or not, they really didn't know who he was. So Judas had to do the mafia kiss on the cheek to identify who Jesus was, and that's, of course, when the Roman soldier reached to arrest Jesus, Peter cut the soldier ear off, and Jesus had to tell Peter, you know, you live by the sword, you die by the sword. Jesus picks up a piece of the ear, put it back on the soldier's head, glued it back with his hand, and the soldier, of course, passes out. And later, Judas felt so guilty that he unalived himself due to the associated guilt of selling out Jesus. So I wanted to be crystal clear on what a sellout is. Somebody who seems to gain monetarily or in fame for either discrediting their people or some type of way. It's not right. I don't care how you slice it, the shit ain't right. Okay, so everybody's clear what a sellout is. Everybody clear what's up. Lieutenant Williams, while we're going through history, can you explain how a sellout and Uncle Tom became the same thing when Uncle Tom was supposed to be the hero? And thank you so much, Antonio. That's absolutely right. Uncle Tom is not the bad guy in the story. That's how you can tell who really read the book. you know, black people hate to read, so that's how you can tell who really wrote the book. Let's start. Yo, Uncle Tom, like, thank you, because Uncle Tom's actually the hero of the story. But absolutely, if we get time, we'll definitely cover that part. And I think it's a huge misnomer between an Uncle Tom and a sellout. It's a huge misnomer. So before I dive into the historicity of this, I want to be clear. I want the audience to be clear on what a sellout is. We can all agree. Press 111. 111. Press 111 if we're all in agreement that Judas was a sellout. Press 111 if we're all in agreement that Judas was a sellout. I'm gonna wait on y'all, and then we're gonna jump right into it. 111 if we all can agree that Judas was a sellout. Judas got money. Monetary gain was had at the detriment of Jesus Christ. Thank you. And okay, so we all on the same page. So as I go into this story of Harriet Tubman, keep in mind what a sellout is. I don't want to hear no crap from nobody that I'm making this stuff up. Thank the audience, the chat going crazy. 111. So everybody's now in agreement. We all can agree what a sellout is, right? Now, for my note takers, everybody should have their notes out. My note takers, a couple things we're gonna highlight is three people, rather. We're gonna highlight Sojourner Truth. Sojourner Truth. I know people asking, well, how the hell you spell that? It's SOJOURNER. Journer. Sojourner Truth. Because people oftentimes get Sojourner Truth and Harriet Tubman mixed up. I mean, the photographs, they look the same. And I'm gonna tell you why they look the same. Also write down Harriet Tubman, of course. Yeah, I didn't know that wasn't her real name, right? But for the sake of the conversation, we're gonna call her Harriet Tubman. Solo 5000 said Michael Luther King was a sellout. Martin Luther King was a sellout. But he realized the errors of his ways later, and he later recanted that he sold out. So you're absolutely right, brother. Also write down Elizabeth Keys. Elizabeth Keys. So Elizabeth Keys, Sojourner Truth, and Harriet Tubman.
So if I can add some value, if you're ready.
Please. We getting started. Let's go.
So according to the Harriet Tubman, the juicy Jamatia is equivalent to fraudulent.
Bro, come on. All right. Can you share your screen? Can you pull your screen up? Because I'm gonna pull my screen down. I don't want y'all to think we're making this stuff up.
Hold on. Let me copy that.
I think you got to reconnect your screen. We're not making this stuff up, y'all.
Is it gonna paste?
We're not. We're not making this stuff.
Can you see?
You have to hit the share screen on your end, I think, bro. Hold on, let me.
Oh, messed up. My bad. I
Share my
messed up.
screen.
Tap
Yeah.
that. Tap that too soon. Hold on.
Present. Hit the little present button. You should be able to share from
Yeah.
there. But we're
I forgot
not.
about that.
So tell the people one more time what you're about to show them.
We're about to show in the.
But it said device won't connect. Hold on, let me see something.
I got you. Share
You got
screen.
it?
I got it. Here you go. Nice. So in the gematria, you see me?
It's not populating on our side.
I thought I streamed it. Oh, hold on. That might be it. Do you see it?
Okay, there we go. There we go.
You
All
got
right,
it?
all right.
Okay.
Yeah, let me pull up. Add the stage.
Okay.
There we go. All right. So hold on. Slow down. I want everybody to understand what we're doing right now. Right? We're talking about Harriet Tubman. He just put Harriet Tubman's name in the gematria calculator. All right. Continue.
So we put the Harriet Tubman in the gematria calculator under the juicy gematria. And when we scroll down, and usually when we use gematria, we're just trying to prove a point to see what the connection is. And as you can see, the connection says Harriet Tubman is equivalent to
Fraudulent.
fraudulent.
Y'all know what fraudulent mean. Y'all know what fraudulent mean. Press 222 if you know what fraudulent mean.
So when you said sellout, this is the fraudulent behavior we're talking about. It's equivalent to.
According to the gematria, numbers, they say that numbers don't lie.
But it also says she's a strong one.
And she was definitely quoted for being very tough. Right? She was cited as being very tough, strong-willed, and so on and so forth. What I find to be interesting is Harriet Tubman's story and Sojourner Truth's story is very similar in the fact that they thought that they had a calling from God to go do their works. And if you guys don't know, what you should know in this time frame was the era of what was called the Third Great Awakening. I keep saying I'm gonna do a joint. I'm gonna have to do something on the Third Great Awakening, which was a large religious reform movement in America. Okay, this is the same time frame, late 1800s. Excuse me, late 1800s into the early 1900s, going through people like Sweet Daddy Grace, Father Divine, so on and so forth. A lot of these abolitionists and the abolitionist movement were by way of Quakers, and John Brown himself was a Puritan. Why am I mentioning the Quakers and the Puritans? But the Quakers and the Puritans were the two fascist religious groups that came over on the Mayflower. We talked about it a little bit yesterday. Why the Puritans left England in the first place under religious persecution. They weren't able to worship in the way they wanted, according to the King Henry VIII Bible, the Geneva Bible. So you have Puritans, which John Brown is a Puritan, and you have Quakers, and the Quakers started the abolitionist movement. And I'm going to show you something that's definitely disturbing about both the Quakers and the Puritans if we have time. But I have to put everything into context and give context to the fact that this was in a certain point in time in history. This was a certain point in time in history. Whether you refer to it as the enslavement of so-called Black folks, but today I'm going to sit out and prove my case. This is my objective today. So in your piece of paper, I can tell you what to write down. You got the names already down there. Before we go there, I want you to write down one more name. Write down Anthony Johnson. They're excited. I know who Anthony Johnson was. Right. But do you know who Anthony Johnson really was? Write down Anthony Johnson. Anthony Johnson is your Fourth name. So the names on the paper you should have is Sojourner Truth, Harriet Tubman, Elizabeth Keys, and Anthony Johnson. And this is the part that disturbed me the most, that when we talk about African American history, there is a such thing as African American history. Not that African American is applicable to a group of people, but a certain time period and a certain historic reference of time. Let's put it like that. African American history is a certain reference of time. So when you hear the term African American history, your mind should start at 1616, Hampton, Virginia. Technically, it should be 1526, South Carolina. Technically. And we're talking about the Africans that were brought from Africa to the Americas. Am I insinuating that Sojourner Truth, Anthony Johnson, and Harriet Tubman were all Africans? Absolutely right. They were all Africans. Why is it a big deal? Because at the same time, okay, we have Anthony Johnson in the 1600s. I have notes also over here. Anthony Johnson in the 1600s, and you have Sojourner Truth and Harriet Tubman in the 1800s. There had been a 200-year slave trade with the indigenous folks of North America prior to them coming over here. The conditions of which they suffered slavery were much more humane than the early slave trade. Now, it's not a pissing contest who got enslaved first. I want to differentiate the groups of people so we're not confused on African American history and then just American history. I'm talking about American history. Sunshine 9 says, greetings from Texas. Sometimes I wonder if she was given a bounty of $20 per each person she so-called captured. I mean, help. Oh, we're going to deal with that. You just wait. You just get your pen and paper ready. Ho, ho, ho. Yes. So let's go back to this. This is what I want to show first. I want to share this first to set the tone. Where did it go? There we go. Let's take a listen to Kanye West. I know a lot of y'all was on that train too when he was saying it, like, oh, he been disrespectful. Kanye West is a sellout. But now we're very clear what a sellout is, and we're very clear what a sellout is, right? And we were very clear about what the word fraudulent, right? So we have two words on our paper: sellout and fraudulent. Let's take a listen real quick.
Is the idea that if Kanye West runs for president, I'm gonna split the black votes. Well, Harriet Tubman never actually freed the slaves. She just had the slaves go work for other white people.
I'm gonna run that back one more time because I didn't expect all the other stuff in the beginning. But let's run it back one more time. Listen what Kanye said. Check him out.
Never actually freed the slaves. She just had the slaves go work for other white people.
Hold on.
I'm gonna split the black votes.
Listen.
Well, Harriet Tubman never actually freed the slaves. She just had the slaves go work for other white people.
And that's all Kanye said. Harriet Tubman didn't really free the slaves. She just had the slaves go work for other white people. That's what he said. Now, in response to what Kanye said, Black America lost their mind. They lost their marbles. Just like when he had said that slavery was a choice. I'm going to talk about that too at some point. Not today, though. I can show you how this shit was a choice. Just like now, you can choose to be in, it's a choice. It's a choice. We're going to talk about the Black slave owners. And the reason we talk about the Black slave owners is because that then that desensitizes your mind from the stories they've been telling y'all. Like, the story goes, they came to Africa, scooped up a lot of people look like you, brought them over to America, made them work unfavorable conditions, made them do work in unfavorable conditions for so many years. Then you got Martin Luther King, then you got civil rights, then you got Obama, and here you are. Nobody talks about the dark side of it. Nobody talks about the Anthony Johnsons. Nobody talks about the other 15, 16, 20 something black slave owners. And why is that relevant? Why is that relevant? Because then it begins to offset disinformation. It causes you to look at both sides of the coin. I don't think people are looking at both sides of the coin when it comes to people like Harriet Tubman or Nat Turner, for that matter, because these are the individuals they forced on us for the last 20 something years, 30, 40 something years. Every Black History Month, you get the same people.
Yeah.
Every Black History Month, you get the same people. And because of psychoneurosis, nobody questions it. What's psychoneurosis, Minister? Thank you. Great question, because somebody said something. But I know you guys will remember this clip with Uncle Kanye. Uncle Kanye was deemed all type of stuff by Black America when he made the comment about Harriet Tubman. But he said what he said. And today I'm going to prove what he said was not incorrect. Keep in mind, all he said was Harriet Tubman didn't really free slaves. She just simply took them to other white people. This is your word of the day. Here's the spelling of it. If you have not wrote it down before, write down the word psychoneurosis. This is not necrosis or like necromancy. Nothing to do with death. Well, it does, but not really. Gone Precies, I think I'm saying that right. Forgive me if I'm slaughtering the name, but I don't think you've ever been on this platform with me before. There's nothing I haven't said that I can't prove. Now, it's up to you to believe it. It's up to you to do your own research. Don't believe a word I say. I'm not here to convince or persuade you at all. This is just information. Go do your own research. By you doing your own research, that then becomes something that you know, not something you heard. But first, let's deal with the psychosis of us not believing things. Psychoneurosis is the word of the day. Please write this word down. Psychoneurosis is a mental disorder affecting the spirits, personality, and motives and actions of Negroes who have failed to rid themselves of the psychological ills they have occurred from their collective experience with foreigners, marked by a distorted ideal of self and others. Psychoneurosis results in an unnatural pattern of perception. Psychoneurosis results in an unnatural pattern of perception, logic, thought, speech, behavior, and emotional expression, and is accompanied by various other unnatural dispositions, manifestations, such as, but not limited to, self-group depreciation, the champion of non-Black ideas, conversion to non-Black religions, xenophilia, especially Anglo-centric xenophilia, cognitive dissonance, sexual deviation, escapism, dual or double consciousness, conflicting loyalties, and unscrupulous liberalism, differing in degrees of severity from one individual to another. The main thrust of psychoneurosis causes Black people to be unreasonable, contradictory, and utterly dependent upon the cultural products, charity, aid, sympathy, and consciousness of other peoples, especially that of YT palm-colored people. So as we go through this information today, please keep in mind psychoneurosis is a mental disorder that affects the way you think. It affects when somebody says that Harriet Tubman really took slaves off the plantation and then took them to other white people. That's exactly what the fuck she did, literally. History doesn't hide that. It would also have you think that Harriet Tubman trotted her ass down to the South where slavery was really happening at. She didn't go past Maryland. Why are you thinking she came to Alabama, Mississippi, and Georgia, in the backwoods of Florida to free anybody? Why would you think she came way down here and went back up there? Because you were told that Negroes ran north for freedom? Remember that? Press 333 in the comments if you remember being told that slaves ran north for freedom. 333 if you remember being told that Negroes ran north for freedom. Everybody was told that without even questioning.
Just to add value,
Please.
in the simplest form of gematria, Kanye West is equivalent to Abraham Lincoln.
Man, cut. Okay. Go to the top, bro, so they can see it.
To the top.
Look at what he's plugging into the geometrium calculator. He put Kanye West's name in the geometrium calculator.
It's equivalent to, in the English form, the simplest form, Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln. Why is Abraham Lincoln name being mentioned with Kanye West's name while we're talking about Harriet Tubman? We're not making this up. We're not making this up. And we haven't even got started yet. We haven't even got started yet.
Harriet Tubman equals 201 and 84. What was that?
I haven't even gave y'all the T yet. We just getting started. So let's start with some context, because I'm getting excited already. Let's start with some context. We're talking about the Underground Railroad. Hold on. Let me go here for a second. We're talking about the Underground Railroad. The Underground Railroad originated in the early 19th century, that's the 1800s, as a clandestine network of abolitionists and sympathizers who helped enslaved people escape to freedom in the North. Right. We pretty much all have heard that Black folks ran north for freedom. We all heard that. What we're not looking at is the timelines. In the comment section, hold on. It says the term was first used in the 1830s, but its origins are unclear. In 1831, an enslaved man's owner blamed the Underground Railroad for helping his escape from Kentucky to Ohio. What else was happening in 1831 in the South? Put it in the comments. What else was happening in 1831 in the South? I don't say this shit 9 million times. What else was happening in the South in 1831? Bear in mind, when I say the word Underground Railroad, let me show y'all how the psychoneurosis works. When I say Underground Railroad, anything else about anything else in American history goes out your mind. You're thinking about slaves. You're thinking about runaways. You're thinking about the movie Roots. You're thinking about dogs. You're thinking about being chased, freedom papers, freedom fighting. You're thinking about all that information when I use the words Underground Railroad. But the time stamp 1831 dictates something else was happening in history in the South. What else was happening down south in 1831? And when I show you this, I'm gonna show you how all of you guys are duped by psychoneurosis. I'm gonna show you how real psychoneurosis is. Right. Somebody had it right. Thank you. Not reconstruction, definitely relocation. Definitely. So let me ask you a question. If this was happening in 1830, the Indian Removal Act was happening in 1830, what Underground Railroad was up and running in 1831? Who was on the Underground Railroad 1830? These people are being forcibly removed from the South. Absolutely. Thank you. We were fighting. The indigenous people of North America was in the middle of a fight. We were fighting for our land. So who was running away to the north in 1831 on the Underground Railroad? If this was happening in 1830, now we know who the people who got removed, we know who they were. Because in 1865, they only offered for certain people to come back on the land in 1865, which were supposed Negroes. So who ran north for freedom in 1831 on the Underground Railroad if we were fighting during 1830? We, the indigenous people, were fighting during 1830. Who was on this Underground Railroad? It's just a rhetorical question. I'll give you guys time to deal with that in your mind. 1831, an enslaved man's owner blamed the Underground Railroad for helping his escape from Kentucky to Ohio. 1839, a Washington newspaper reported that an enslaved man revealed a plan to escape to Boston via Underground Railroad. A Washington newspaper, that's Washington, D.C. and Boston, Massachusetts. Nothing to do with the Southeast region. Y'all know I love the Southeast region. Y'all know I love Virginia, South Carolina, North Carolina, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, Texas, Arkansas, Tennessee. That's where we're able to tell our story as the indigenous people of North Maxim. But notice the places I'm talking about right now: Kentucky, Ohio, Washington, Boston, with this Underground Railroad in 1830. I just showed you in 1830 down south, they were fighting for their land. Them black folk weren't running nowhere. We're not going to underground. No, they don't even know what that is. What is an Underground Railroad? What is that? And the fact that it was called a railroad is due to the fact that John Brown was the actual railroad conductor. That's the only reason it assumed the name Underground Railroad. And Harriet Tubman was the Underground Railroad conductor, while John Brown was an actual railroad conductor. We'll talk about John Brown in a second. Let's continue on with this right here. But you see the psychoneurosis if you don't understand time and space? If you don't have a clear, concise notion of time and space in 1830, 31 to 33, 34, 35, your ancestors, if you're a part of that nation of the Southeast region of North America, were being forcibly removed from the land via the Indian Removal Act. Post-war of 1812. Then Seminole Geechee Gullah Wars was happening. Who running north for freedom at this time if you're down here fighting? The Africans. These are not indigenous people that's a part of this network called the Underground Railroad. These are two different people. In fact, let's take a look at how many people were actually free during that time frame. Let's look at the free people of color during that time. Just so you don't convolute the idea that everybody of color was being transported under the Underground Railroad and they were in chains and shackles. This is part of the psyops. This is part of the psychoneurosis that I got finished talking about just now. Where is it at? Right here. Look at some numbers real quick. Take a look at some numbers real quick. It says in 1790, I got a pencil right here, so I'm taking notes too. In 1790, 59,524 free black people in the United States, which was about 19% of the population. Up north, 27,000 free black people. Down south, it was 32,162 free black people. So the South had more free black folks in 1790 than the North. But we're going to talk about who was on this Underground Railroad. Was it indigenous black people or was it Africans? Africans. This is why this stuff is African American history. You are in American history. Unless you identify with African American history, which is that's cool. I'm just teaching you guys psychologically how to decipher, how to separate African American history and then regular American history. Because American history in 1830, the people of down south was not worried about no Underground Railroad. We was being forcibly removed off the land in 1830. We was fighting in 1830. Okay. So if you want to associate yourself with African history, go ahead. That's fine. Go ahead and associate yourself with Sojourner Truth, Anthony Johnson, what's her name? Elizabeth Keys, and hey, do your thing. But for those of us who are beginning to question history, like, wait a minute, 1830, if the Cherokee, Blackfoot, Pamunkey, Shinnecock, Chickasaw, Coweta, Yamacraw, Yamansi, Gullah, Geechee, Seminoles, if they were fighting during 1830, who was on the Underground Railroad 1830 up north? Because it would appear to me that it's two different things happening in history in 1830. There's people down south who were fighting for their land, for their territory, or losing their territory and being pushed to Oklahoma. Why didn't they go up north? Why didn't Harriet come and get them? Maybe, and this is just my prediction, maybe Harriet Tubman as a, what was she? She was from Ghana, by the way. She was a Ghanaian. Maybe Harriet Tubman as a Ghanaian was concerned about her African folks. No different than Marcus Garvey going to New York. Marcus Garvey never came to Mississippi. He never came down to Tuskegee. He never came to Georgia. He never came to Alabama, South Carolina. Their brother went right to New York and began a continued the Back to African movement. So Africans in America have a history that has been muddied with the history of Black folks in America who were already here. You don't hear much about your history because your history is camouflaged in the history of America. Your history is the history of 1831 Indian Removal Act. Your history is in the Gullah Geechee Wars. Your history is in the Yamasee Wars, because you don't learn about the Yamasee Wars, King Philip Wars of the early 1600s. And I can show proof historically that Africans were brought over here and dumped in that area. Not dumped, but brought to their area. I can show you the first group of Africans brought to North America and the number of how many was coming over here at first. What's the point of all this? It's to reposition your thinking when you hear certain words like Underground Railroad. So now you know the origin of the Underground Railroad began around 1831. Also 1831, the Indian Removal Act was happening to some people of color who were being removed off the land. 1790, 59,000 free Black people in the United States, which was about 19%. Another thing that was interesting in 1790 was the first U.S. Census. 1790 was also the European Naturalization Act. So even when you see the time frame 1790, think Naturalization Act for white folks. They became Americans in 1790. Also 1790, think first U.S. Census. So a lot of the categories weren't even there yet. It's going to take a lot of work. But I'm going to brainwash y'all. I'm going to take your brain out. I'm going to put some joy, degreaser, some fabuloso. I'm going to put it back in your skull. I'm going to wash it off for you because I'll thank you. Go ahead, brother.
If I can add a little value,
Absolutely.
the Underground Railroad is equivalent to the gematria juicy calculation as private.
And it was a private network. It was just a private network of people. Hey, listen, if you're running away from the plantation, Because another thing that we think too, also, when we hear like Underground Railroad and plantation, we think they were all black folk. No, buddy. There was some real dirty looking European, some swarthy looking people. They call them swarthy because they permanently dirty. Some trailer park trash folks who were also bound to the land. When we look at movies like Django and 12 Years a Slave, and I'm gonna start doing movie Monday breakdown. I'm gonna start breaking down a movie every Monday, these slave movies, because it's a lot of information y'all miss due to the purpose of entertainment. But there's a lot of swarthy looking people in those movies you don't pay attention to. They could be mistaken as black and were not necessarily black. Let's read on. 1790 census. This is the first census, by the way. The 1790 census was the first U.S. census and recorded a total population of 3,929,214. The population, I would assume. The black population was concentrated in the southern states: Maryland, Virginia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Georgia. Now, outside of Maryland is definitely not the fucking South. Virginia is the South. Virginia is the capital of this Confederacy. Virginia is the Mason-Dixon line. The Bible Belt starts a little bit right there, right? So the number of free blacks in the United States increased dramatically in the first 2 decades after the war. Northern states abolished slavery, and many slave owners in the Upper South freed their slaves. We're going to talk about why they freed their slaves. And this is all important before we get to Harriet Tubman and understanding. We got you know how I do. I want to create context. I want to create the backdrop of history, what was happening. So while she was running from Maryland to Boston, which is what, who's from Boston and Maryland? How far is Boston from Maryland? I don't want to look it up. Who's from the DMV area, Baltimore, Jersey area? How far is it a drive from, let's say, Boston to Maryland? Somewhere like PG County. How far of a drive? Is like an hour, 2-hour drive, maybe 45 minutes, hour drive, I think. I'm not quite sure what that drive looks like, but that was the area that Tubman was dealing with. Black enslaved population in the United States from 1790 to 1880. So on your piece of paper, write down black and slave population of the U.S. 1790 to 1880. Somebody say about 8-hour drive. 8-hour drive, New Hampshire or Hampshire. Coffee Brown said they never told us Harriet was from Africa. Yeah, she's from Africa. She's an African. Harriet Tubman was an African. Sojourner Truth was an African. Elizabeth Key was an African, and Anthony Johnson were all Africans from Africa. Now, to some people, that may not mean a hill of beans to some people. But if you're trying to figure out our dynamic, our place in history as it pertains to so-called Negroes in America, this is not our history. This is not our history. These are Africans from Africa. I'm going to show you they're from Africa. I'm going to show you they're from Africa. I'm going to show you, again, Anthony Johnson, Sojourner Truth. Sojourner Truth is from Guyana. She's Ghanaian. Tubman is Ghanaian. Anthony Johnson is Angolan. I think Elizabeth Keys is Angolan as well, if I'm not mistaken. But they're all from Africa. I'm like, oh God, that makes so much sense. This is African and American history. We just said all is one word, African American history. No, it's Africa, African and American history. So February is African and American month, not African American history. It's African and American history. Okay. Let's continue. So it says, my mouse said, it says that Black enslaved population in 1790 to 1880, characteristics, it goes through a procession from 1790 to about 1820. And as you can see, the total population increases. The total free number also increases. You see right here? 1820, there was 1,771,000 total. Out of that 1,233,524 were free. Please pay attention to English. It says black and slave. It's two different groups of people. I keep telling y'all this shit. It's two different groups of people. All people of color were not slaves or born into slavery. Hiram Revels, the first black senator of Mississippi, was never a slave. His family they were not slaves. They were never enslaved. They were never part of that situation. Never a part of the situation. So I think the fact that people of color automatically associate slavery or the slavery diaspora with something it's automatically connected to you because you're black in America is horse crap. It's crap. That's the psychoneurosis. Trigger word, slavery. Oh, your mind go to cotton fields. Your mind goes to Harriet Tubman. Your mind goes to Sojourner Truth. Your mind goes to Underground Railroad. Your mind don't even go to the rich part of black people. Your mind doesn't go to those 233,000 free black people. Why don't your mind go to those people? Who said your kinfolk got to be a part of this? The slave, it could be a part of the free people. Most of everybody I talk to and know, people either own land, had land, granddad had cows, farm. If you're from the South, even my Chicago people, you know I pick at y'all all the time. Even my Chicago people, y'all granddad and grandma from Mississippi, Alabama, Arkansas, y'all people owned land at one point. Y'all people had a homestead at one point. Slaves were not allowed to own land. So in 1830, when they pushed Negroes off the land in southeast part of America, 1865, when they watch this. I know we already, I don't care. We're gonna keep going back over stuff. That's what it takes. Let's remember stuff, right? Special Field Order number 15. 1865, which is about 30 years later, they invite those same people back to the land from the Indian Removal Act or the Trail of Tears. The ones got pushed off, they invite them back. Who did they invite back? Who? Confiscated 400,000 acres from Charleston, South Carolina to Jacksonville, Florida. They redistributed it to freed slaves. And I just showed y'all about how many was freed in 1820. And the numbers increased every year for free people prior to Lincoln's 1865 Emancipation Proclamation. People were already being set free anyway from their contract. Why are we,
value?
please, brother, jump in there.
African American is equivalent to Rothschild. Can't make it up.
I'm gonna take a sip on that. I'm gonna take a sip on that.
And that's in the simplest form of gematria.
So everything I'm telling y'all, the high priest is coming back with the numerology to add value to what I'm saying.
To add value to that too, if I'm
Hold
not
on.
mistaken, it was I forget, but it was a brother saying that African American is patent.
Oh, the term itself is patent.
It's patent. Yeah.
Oh, that's crazy.
Somebody owns that phrase, African American. I gotta look it up. We'll figure it out. But just to give you an idea, somebody patent that and put it out, and that's the label that they gave us. And now every time that's being used, somebody's getting paid off of that.
Off the term African American?
Yes.
Let's write that down. Look up in a second because I don't want to lose my point. That is crazy.
Yeah, look that up. African American is a patented word. I'm sorry for even spitting this out without getting a receipt.
Yeah, let's go ahead. I'm gonna give you time to look that up, pull up on the screen so you can see that.
But if you see the Rothschilds and it's equivalent to it, I would say that someone in the Rothschild legacy owns that word. So somebody said African American is patented as food.
Crazy. So this shit is mind blowing, man. It's mind blowing. So the 1830 folks who got pushed off the territory of the southeast region of America got re-invited back. Let's make sure we understand that. 1830, they say Indians were pushed off the land. Indian Trail of Tears. Remember that? That's the first Great Migration. The second Great Migration happens in 1920. And the last Great Migration happens in 1960 with Negroes going north for freedom. Not freedom, just for better jobs. At the time of the 1960s and the mid 1940s and 50s, farming, agriculture was the kids, the next generation of kids in the 50s. Like, I'm not working on the fucking dirt. They started going to school, universities, Tuskegee University, A&M schools, agriculture and mechanic schools. They started getting education, started going north for textile jobs. Anyway, it's important to know history, man. Like, history never fails me. Like, damn. I want everybody to know the entirety of history. Let's continue real quick. 400,000 acres of land from South Carolina down to Georgia was offered back or redistributed back to freed slaves in 40-acre parcels. A response to demands by Black ministers after Ebenezer Creek massacre and helped freed slave transition to freedom. 1865. Then let's go back. How many free Black people at the start of the Civil War? 488,000. Almost 500,000 were already free before the Civil War started. How many were free in 1776? About 30,000. Now, we can't assume to think that these 30,000 were both so-called Indians and so-called Africans combined. They really don't say. They really don't say. So now we understand that there was a presence of free people. I got more numbers and I got more stats because we have to do the numbers. I'm definitely becoming a huge fan of numbers now because numbers don't lie. This is off of Weebly.com, American Civil War. Section 4, why was there a civil war in the United States and where was its results? Why am I talking about civil war? I'm discussing everything that happened in the 19th century in America. We have to study history as a whole, not in part. Because we only talked about Harriet Tubman's endeavors to free her family members from Maryland, we would never understood that in 1831, the Indian Removal Act had already started also. 4 things was happening at the same time. Because we still don't get to Dred Scott, which was during that time. We still don't get to the Missouri Compromise, which was during that time. Or the Fugitive Slave Act at that time. There was so much happening at that time that we don't discuss or talk about historically that will help put a lot of stuff into context. It will bring about a greater understanding of information if we understood the entirety of history and not just cherry pick the parts that sounded good. So once again, this is my stance. I'm going on record for this. I'm saying it on the record. Harriet Tubman was an African woman. And the Harriet Tubman story is African and American history. I want us to practice on not running our words together as one sentence. Jesus Christ. No, it's Jesus the Christ. African American. No, it's African and American history, not African American history. We're gonna breathe African and American history. Got it? Harriet Tubman is an African and American history story. The Africans who came to North America in Jamestown in the 1600s, that's African and American history. All right, now let's talk more about African and American history. Section 4. I want you, this is interesting. I want to point out the North and the South, the Union and the Confederacy. I think this is important because a lot of us don't understand that the Union states had nothing to do with the Confederate states. Lincoln Proclamation didn't mean a hill of beans to the Confederacy because Lincoln was not the president of the Confederacy. All right. Lincoln was only the president of the Union. And I'm going to show you some slick shit that Lincoln did only for the North that never applied to the South. I'm going to show you some shit that the British royals did for the colonies as a relief act that never applied to anybody else. You want to talk reparations? I can show you 2 individuals during that time who got reparations who were Negroes. And they filled out the petition and got their bread for reparations. I can show you black slave owners during that time. Does that change the narrative of history? It should change the narrative. It should. Like, why don't you tell us about the black slave owners? That would tilt the scale a bit. Why don't you talk about the black folks who got reparations back then? How did what? They didn't march. They didn't picket. They simply filled out a petition. They spoke in an intelligent tone and received their favorable reply. And I can show you who those people are. But we have to be careful with history because history will sometimes lie to us by using the words the first black so-and-so. But let me tell y'all something. Look at the camera. Before you were the first black anything, you was the first black everything. Before you was the first black anything, you was the first black everything. Stop getting excited about the first black so-and-so. Ooh, she was the first, but no, she wasn't. Like they say right now that Elizabeth Keys was the first. I'm sorry, Sojourner Truth was the first woman to go to court and win a court case, which is a lie. It was Elizabeth Keys. She was the first one in 1663. But if you don't do your research, you see what I'm saying? You'll be trapped by the spell. You'll be bound by the information because you only know what you know. I'm here to make you think past that. Like, let me research this shit. Anytime they give you a story, a do-gooder story, I call it, you better go do your research. Anytime they present a Negro to the population, like what's his name? Barry Sorrento, who you call Obama, okay, or Michael or Michelle, anybody that give you up front, you better go do your due diligence. What you got, brother?
Yes, to what I said earlier, it's not patented, but it is trademarked.
Trademark.
So it says, no, the phrase African American is not patented, but it has been trademarked by individuals or organizations, meaning they have exclusive rights to use the term commercially in specific contexts as confirmed by the U.S. Patent and Trademark Office.
When you're patenting something, that's a material. That's a phone. When you're trademarking something, that's a phrase or a word. Copyright is literature. So you have copyright, you have trademark, you have patent. Patent is mostly on inventions, things of industrial caliber. If you're going to invent a machine that could, I don't know, solar panels are patent. So that makes sense. But the fact that that term itself is trademarked, meaning they have trademark rights to that term. Anytime it's used, expressed, leverage for financial gain, anything of the sort, it's a term. But Noble Drew Ali already taught us that these terms were given to you by slaveholders and they lasted to about 1865. Then Jesse Jackson came in the 1980s and gave you the term African and American history. These are the African and American people. Are you African American? No, I'm African and American. What? I'm African and American. My forefathers were African and American. How they both? Because we were in both places at the same time, simultaneously. Let's push forward. Difference between the North and South. The North was far more industrious than the South. The Southern states only produced 10% of the nation's industrial output in the 1850s. However, it produced 90% of the world's raw agricultural goods, though. The Southern economy relied on crops such as cotton, which led to the need for slaves. Percentage of labor force in agriculture. In the 1800s, Northern states, 60%, Southern states 82%. In the 1860s, the northern states dropped to 40%, and the southern states dropped to 81% as far as slave labor being needed. Was there slavery in the North? Yes, there was slavery in the North. Absolutely, there was slavery in the North. Let's talk about what was happening in the North. I'll pull up a map real quick. What's it called? Northern something. Let's look at some maps because you have to show visualization for our people. This is what it looked like at the time, and then we're going to talk about it, and then we'll get into Harriet Tubman. Slavery in the northern states. While slavery was presented in the North before the Civil War, do y'all remember? Y'all remember when the colonists came over to what do you say? Brother said, "Don't like black words. Must." I don't know what that means.
He was saying, what about the swarthy people of Europe, Negroes of Europe? He said he don't agree.
Oh, that's fine. I mean, we're not talking about the swarthy people of Europe. We're not talking about that. We're talking about slavery in America, and we're talking about Harriet Tubman, Sojourner Truth. I don't know who Big Chief Thunderstorm is. I appreciate you tapping in. I guess he said, "Peace out." I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. See, here's the thing, man. I'm not here to entertain nobody. That's the first thing. And had these individuals been on the live when I first started, I always give you guys the learning objective. I always give you guys the focus of the conversation. When I first started the live, I told you who we're going to be talking about. Were there swarthy Europe? Yes. Was King James swarthy? Yes. Yes. But we're not talking about King James and all the darker skinned folks of Europe. Europe was ran by black people. But we're not discussing that shit. That's not what we're talking about. We're not, that's another day. Big Chief and whoever else with Big Chief. You want to come on here and talk about the swarthy people of Europe, then shoot me an email and we'll set it up and we'll go at it. But we're not going to derail the fact that Harriet Tubman took compensation to enslave people. That's the whole fact of today's measure. Moving on. While slavery was present in the North before the Civil War, the number of enslaved people were smaller in the South. While slavery in the North before the Civil War, the number of enslaved people were smaller than in the South. New England, all of New England states had a history of slavery, including Rhode Island, which had the highest percentage of enslaved people in the region. Don't think about color right now, because if you think about color in the 1700s in the colonies, let's do this. Fuck it. Let's do this. Let's do this. Never mind. That'll throw me off track. Then we just talking about white slavery in America, which we all know that white people were the first slaves in America. Like there's certain things we just know already. Going into conversation. Okay, hold on. Get your pen and paper ready. That's all I'm gonna tell you. I would not come on this live platform on Chrome TV and embarrass nobody up here by making a statement that I can't back up. I mean, I got the information already loaded at the top of my bar. I've been reading it all morning. I read through it. This is the only reason I came on the live today, because I like, wow, this is crazy. They all from Africa. That's the only reason I did it. All right. So stand by. New Hampshire, Massachusetts, these states passed laws to abolish slavery in 1783. Connecticut, Rhode Island passed laws to abolish slavery in 1784. Vermont, 1791. New York, 1799. New Jersey was 1805, and so on and so forth. Slavery was the dominant feature of the antebellum South, but was also pervasive in pre-Civil War North the New England states of Maine, Vermont, New Hampshire, Massachusetts, Connecticut, and Rhode Island all have a history of slavery. Now, what I want to deal with next is the northern states, because I just truly believe that the northern states are not celebrated as much when it comes to slavery. At the early stage of the establishment of the 13 colonies, which was pretty much ran by the crown, right? Slavery was introduced to the colonies. The enslavement, let's do this right here. Let's do this right here. How many? Boom. Let's go here. Do my share screen. Where my share screen go? Let's do some numbers real quick. The question is, how many Indians were enslaved in America? Between 2 and 5.5 million between 1492 and 1900. That's how many. This is including the numbers. The numbers. It's excluding. Sorry, Mexico. 2.5 million to 5 million were enslaved in North America between 1492 and 1900. 400 years of slavery. This is your 400 years of slavery story. You can't start slavery at 1776, 1779, emancipation, and say, we've been enslaved for 400 years. The country ain't but 279 years old. But again, this is African and American history. Because there were some people in Africa who were enslaved for 400 years in Egypt. They were 400 years, supposedly, according to the story. But between 2.5 and 5.5 million Native Americans were enslaved in America. Between 1492 and 1900s, the exact number of Native American enslaved is unknown because the census report and vital statistics were infrequent. The first census was 1790. Vital statistics, this is Mr. Plecker with the Racial Integrity Act. You see the word vital statistic, and then you have the House of Interior that was in DC a little bit later that kept the birth records. Records became more reliable in the later colonial period, but Native American slaves were often not distinguished from African slaves. They were not mentioned at all. One more time, really slow. Records became more reliable in the later colonial period, but Native American slaves were often not distinguished from the African slaves. We don't know who is who. They look so much alike. We don't know who is. Who said what?
Yo, drop a bomb for that. Drop a bomb.
You feel what I'm saying? Like
that was crazy. That was crazy. Drop a bomb.
I feel like they sleep, bro.
Well, wake up. That was drop. Bro, that was crazy.
Now, yesterday,
that was crazy.
Yesterday,
they could not distinguish. They could not distinguish between who's who because they look the same.
They didn't know.
Yo, we can end it right here.
Like on some real spit. The conversation over.
Thank
y'all for coming out. God bless you. Good night.
Have a good night.
Now look, this is on the hill. I think was it yesterday when I showed the Indian plantations?
Oh yeah, bring that back. Yeah. Crack the code on that one. You cracked the code.
I'm trying to tell y'all there's two different histories being told. There's the African and American history being put together because they don't know whose history is who.
Wow. Let's go.
That's why y'all think Harriet Tubman and Sojourner Truth and Anthony Johnson or who they no, they're not. Those are Africans who are in America starting the history. In fact, those 30 or so people who were brought to Virginia in 1619, I think it was, from the that ship, the White Lion, one of the Africans was pregnant with a child, and she had her child in Virginia. That child became the first African American.
Mm.
So if you guys are descendants of that baby, then cool. But I'm really trying. I'm really trying to show y'all that these are two different histories being taught. But because of the psychoneurosis, I haven't got psychoneurosis. Yes, you do. We all had it. I just don't have it anymore. And my journey is to wake y'all the fuck up. Like, listen, this is a whole other history. This is not your history.
Crazy.
This is not your history.
Let's go.
Those who know. And the rest of y'all can keep riding with that African American history crap.
Let's go. Oh my God, that was crazy.
Come on now.
That was crazy.
Let's continue.
Where are we going? Yo, stop right there.
Listen,
where are we
let's
going?
Continue. Let's continue because we have to show them. We have to now show and prove about these Africans who are over here. And I told y'all that those three people were just like Marcus Garvey. They didn't really care for the people who were here enslaved, the indigenous people. Marcus Garvey didn't come set up shop in Atlanta. He could, but his people was up in New York. Like today, most island people are in New York. That's where they go, to New York. I can't tell you why, but see right here. Thank you, sister, for being so transparent. I thought all slaves are African. Thank you for being so transparent. If no, it's 130 people watching right now. If nobody out of the 130 I say but this one, I can sleep good tonight. Thank you for being
like. Make sure y'all hit the
share
like.
This shit, man. Hit that like button, man.
Hit the like, share it. It's getting crazy over here.
Listen, if nobody else woke up today, thank you for your transparency, sister. I definitely appreciate you for being honest, because a lot of our people think that they're the same people, and they're not. Distinguished. You are a distinguished race of people, dissimilar from anybody else. You have a distinguished history. The enslavement of indigenous people, now they're indigenous people. They were just Indians, natives. They'll trip y'all up with the language. But once you learn the language, they can't lie to you no more. The enslavement of indigenous people had a devastating impact on many indigenous society, contributing to significant population decline. And we don't need to get into how it began. The Spanish how it began. The Spanish introduced chattel slavery in 15th century through warfare and existing system. 15th century, 1400s. Spain introduced chattel slavery in the 1400s. 1526, the first Spanish colony off the coast of Georgia, South Carolina. Before we even get to DeSoto. DeSoto hadn't came over here yet. DeSoto is a little bit later. Somebody put DeSoto in the chat. You're close. DeSoto is a little bit later. Not even that. We can go to 1398. These people came over here in 1398 to North America. What were their names? Give me a second to find their names. Spain. Let me just see if I can put it in right here.
Hey, to add value to that psychoneurosis, when I throw it in the gematria, we get President Donald Trump.
Hold on. No, we're not going to go past that. Okay, then what would you put in there?
Psychoneurosis. We get President Donald Trump.
Hold on. I got you. I'm gonna tell you right now. Crazy. The Ptolemy crazy. Fucking nuts. Psychoneurosis in the gematria is Donald Trump.
President Donald Trump.
Let me find these jokers right quick because I told y'all I'm gonna show y'all. I think it was 1398. Give me a second. Right here, I got it right here. Zeno. Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. The Zeno brothers. Here we go. All right. We're talking about the Zeno brothers just real quick. They came over here a little bit earlier. They had a map. 1390s. Okay. They came over here prior to Christopher Columbus. Nicola and Antonio were brothers of the Vittini naval hero Carlo Zeno. The Zeno family was established a part of the aristocrats, or like the wealthy part of a society. They formed their own little situation and they govern like that. Aristocracy of Venice, and held a franchise for transportation between Venice and the Holy Land during the Crusades. Remember yesterday I was telling y'all about how the Crusades and the Knight Templars all related to the spread of Christianity and how it came on the shores of North America in the form of pilgrims, as in Puritans, Quakers, Brownings, Calvinists, so on and so forth. According to the younger Zeno, the map and letters dated from around 1400 describe a long voyage made by Zeno's brother in 1390s under the direction of Zygmunia, supporters of the legend involving quadruplegic Scottish nobleman Henry Sinclair. That's what I want to look up right here. Henry Sinclair. They came over here in 1398. That's the point of this right here. And we'll come back for another episode if they were strictly YT or whether they were swarthy or anything dealing with color crayons. The takeaway from this post, from this moment right here, 2.5 to 5 million Native Americans were enslaved between 1492 and 1900. We got that part. Where it happened, enslavement occurred in the Caribbean basin throughout the Americas and in the frontier regions of some countries of the 19th century. The exact number of Native Americans who were enslaved, unknown because vital statistics and census report were at best infrequent. Andre Redesnes, I can't say that. You know how your brain see Resnades? Help me out in the comments on that name. Hispaniola. Gotta get my Spanish on. Estimate that between 147,000 and 340,000 Native Americans were enslaved in North America. That's that 2 million again. And now we saw something the other day when we tried to put in, I think it was it Indian
slave plantation.
There we go. There you go. I'm gonna tell you, you're not gonna see the TP Indians on here. And that's all I put in there. Y'all see who they showing when you put in Indians, slaves on the plantation.
Crack the code. That's a t-shirt.
Yes. Enslaved indigenous people worked on plantations in American colonies, especially in the southern colonies.
Crack the code.
Enslaved indigenous people work in a variety of roles, including in the field as house servants, hunters, and interpreters and guides. Yes.
Crack the code.
Negroes worked on plantations in Americas in the colonies. That's why they kept changing your name from black to Negro color. Remember when Indians had to identify as black? They had no choice but to identify as Negro.
Crack the code.
Remember the one drop law? This is what it's all about. Anybody with one drop of African descent, you're African. Like this is the story. This is they tell you the history right here.
Let's go.
You got to be smart about it, right? Natives were sometimes used as labor on plantations or as servants to wealthy colonist families. Other times they were used as interpreters for European traders. The policy on treatment of slavery of Native Americans varied from colony to colony in the Southeast. We're not gonna leave the Southeast region of America.
Crack the code. Let's go, M.O.
This is the Confederacy. The Southeast is the Confederacy. I think I showed you one time where Noble Drew Ali. Let me show you. And then we're gonna move on. I gotta go. Hold on. Let's see if we can pull up. Let's see if we can pull it right here. What was his name? What Noble Drew Ali? Drew. John Quitman Drew. There we go. Who was John Quitman Drew? John Quitman Drew. 1798. Jonathan Anthony Quitman, a lawyer, a soldier, and the 16th governor of Mississippi. This ain't what I'm looking for, Dan. Not him. I'm looking for John Quitman Drew. There we go. John Drew. I showed you how John Drew was mixed blood military political leader. He was mixed blood. This is prior to Plecker. This is why Plecker brought in the Racial Integrity Act to desecrate by blood mixing that you're no longer part of your native tribes anymore. Were Africans over here intermingling with natives? Of course they were. I just showed you they look just alike, just like we do today. We do that today. A Negro from Atlanta sleeps with somebody from a black girl from New York, gets her pregnant. The child is raised in New York, never comes to the South. Mixed blood, intermingled. People were excuse my language, people were fucking back then, y'all. It's just, we can't romanticize history. It is what it is and was what it was. John Thompson Drew was a mixed blood military political leader, the Cherokee Nation. So now this is the southern regions of indigenous people who were fighting for the Confederacy. That flag you see flying, the Confederate flag you see flying, is called the Galactic Cross. It's called the Galactic Cross. Has nothing to do with white folks. They didn't create nothing but the patent office, as you already saw. They didn't invent nothing. They just created the patent office and, oh, that's a good idea. Ooh, that flag look cute. The white girl Betsy just sewn together Francis Scott Key's song, The Star Spangled Banner, in the 1770s. Now this Galactic Cross flag is being used by the Confederacy of the South. Let's continue. Born in 1796, there is little written about his life until he led a company of Cherokee immigrants from Georgia. Who were those Cherokee immigrants? This is the 1830 Great Migration. When you migrate somewhere, forcibly relocated, you're relabeled as a migrant or an immigrant or a refugee. So let's read this again with in mind. Thousands upon thousands black folks just got pushed off the territory of Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, and got pushed out to what they just call the Indian Territory, which is Oklahoma. Let's read it again. Born in 1796, there is little written about his life until he led a company of Cherokee black immigrants who just got put off the land of Georgia into Oklahoma.
Wow. Let's go.
Nah, man, that don't make sense. Watch this. Black Seminole soldiers. Black Seminoles, a group of free blacks and runaways. Anytime you see the word "and," that means "and also." Maroons that joined forces with the Seminole Indians in Florida approximately 1700 through the 1850s. The Black Seminoles were celebrated their bravery in tactics during the Three Seminole War. They never lost a soldier, by the way. A group of Black Seminoles, Indian scouts from Mexico, helped the Buffalo Soldiers during the Plains War to track other American Indian groups. These people right here, right there. These people right here, or these people right here. Black Seminoles. Now let's go back and with that in mind again. Go back to John Drew real quick. From Georgia, that's the Yamacraw, that's the Coweta, that's the Yamansi, that's the Seminoles, that's the who else, y'all? Come on. I don't give y'all about 30 tribes over a period of 2 weeks who come from the Southeast region. I know my tribe, Yamacraw. and Coweta. Big shouts to Coweta County too. It's about a 35-40-minute drive from where I'm at. When let's go here. He's best known for joining the Confederate Army. He is best known for joining the. You mean I thought those was just tobacco chewing white boys who was part who had this? I thought a bunch of racist people who had that flag. This was your flag. They took your flag. Y'all give them too much credit. The Confederate States Army, also called the Confederate Army or the Southern Army, was a military land force of Confederate States of America during the American Civil War, 61-65, fighting against United States forces to win independence for the Southern states. The Confederate Army also had started a territory in Mexico too. It's called, I think it's called America, something like that. They had a whole state down there. They were being financed by France too, by the way. Another conversation. He is best known for joining the Confederate Army at the outbreak of the American Civil War when he raised an organization to lead the first Cherokee Mound Rifle. After Cherokee Principal John Ross signed a treaty of alliance with the Confederate States in October 1861, he held that the Cherokee Council authorized the formation of the first Cherokee Mounted Rifle, he commanded by John Drew. Most of the riflemen in newly formed regiment were ideological, uncommitted to his goals of the Confederate, but loyal to Ross. There's their flag. See that right there with that cross on? That's the Confederate state flag. Southeast region. If you study the Southeast region of America, you'll find so much information. If you study American history, you'll find so much information. There's no Black history. Stop trying to find Black history. It's just American history. Everybody were Americans, subjugated to certain realms of society, but they were all Americans. So stop trying to find Black history within America. Just study American history. Study it. You'll find yourself in it. The Cherokee Nation was a legal, autonomous tribal government in North America recognized from 1794 to 1907. It was often referred to simply as the nation by its inhabitants. The government was effectively disbanded in 1907 after its lands and rights had been extinguished. It was known as the nation. Let's do some back research real quick. Let's look to who this guy here was. So John Thompson Drew was a part of the Cherokee Nation. He was a Cherokee Indian, part of a nation of people, vast estate. When I say vast estate, I mean all that land. It was what was it? 4 million acres? Did they divide it up? They divided 4 million acres. This vast estate. Watch this. Who was Noble Drew Ali's parents? This is just extra, y'all. This is extra. We're going to get back to Harriet Tubman. I'm just giving y'all the back story of what else was going on. Noble Drew Ali's parents are uncertain, and there are multiple conflicting accounts of his background. Former slaves. Some say Drew Ali was an orphan son of 2 former slaves from the Cherokee tribe. Cherokee leader in Washita Tunic mother. Others say that Drew Ali was the son of John A. Drew Quitman, a military political leader of the Cherokee Nation. Elizabeth Turner Quitman was a Washita Tunic mother. This is the same Noble Drew Ali. Him. This is his parents right here. Full-blooded Washita and full-blooded Cherokee. So this vast estate that Noble Drew Ali was talking about that's inheritably owed to the Moors of America was unequivocally the southern region that was pushed off the territory. Southeast region of the United States, which is part of the Moorish Empire. I was showing y'all yesterday how. All right, let me move on. I'm gonna move on. Let's get back to Harriet Tubman. Let's go back to this. Underground Railroad. It was a network Underground Railroad was a complex network of safe houses and people that helped enslaved people escape from freedom. It was locally organized, but no real national center. It was local. It was a local organization of people. It was the people in your neighborhood saying, listen, we're going to put a candle in the top window to help overthrow the governments of the slave states. Just come over here and hide in our house. The movement wasn't as big as y'all think the movement was. The Underground Railroad wasn't a big, it was a local movement. And I'm not minimizing, I'm not desecrating history, I'm not pissing on history, or it is what it is. We romanticize history when it comes to this African and American history. The network included abolitionists, free black people. Other free black people were involved. Enslaved people, Quakers, Methodists, Baptists, and others. Argumentatively, Baptist wasn't even a thing in the late 1830s, 1840s, 1850s, 1860s. Baptists really got big in the mid 1900s. Okay. After the Mormons and everybody did their rise. We have to do a breakdown on the Third Great Awakening. The routes: fugitive slaves at night followed the Northern Star to the northern state like Cincinnati, Ohio, or Wilmington, Delaware. Their conductors met them and directed them to freedom. Let me ask you a question, High Priest. Let's just pretend, just for conversation, that you're from Nigeria. Yes. Born and raised 2 generations deep from Nigeria. You have now been kidnapped. We can talk about kidnap, the word, in a minute. You have now been kidnapped and you have been brought over to a whole new territory. You know what? Let's keep it sensible. Fuck all that. Let's say you got kidnapped tonight. And somebody dropped you off in the middle of Nevada. No cell phone, no navigation, no watch, no. Now, you don't know shit about Nevada. I would assume nothing about the great state of Nevada. You are now being instructed to run north for freedom. Which way do you run?
Haha. I would be running up to, what is that above Nevada? To Seattle, Oregon?
How are you going to navigate your way there? Let's say it rained for 2 days. There's no stars out.
Damn, no stars out in England?
Mm-mm. If you're from Africa, you don't know. If you bring an African right now from Africa and put them in the middle downtown Atlanta, don't give them no cell phones, no compasses. Make your way to North Georgia. By asking people, this person can make their way there. But by navigating the Northern Star to uncharted land, it's a little bit preposterous. This is the make-believe part of history. You got all you black folks were astronomers and astrologists, and you just know how to follow the drinking gourd, which is the Big Dipper. Follow the drinking gourd to freedom. If you walk toward that star, you're gonna go into freedom. This is part of the psychoneurosis. This is part of the psychoneurosis. This is the folklore that they fed our people. You guys followed the Northern Star and you ran north for freedom. I'm going to show you who was running north for freedom, and it wasn't no damn Africans running north for freedom. The Underground Railroad ended in 1865 with the end of the Civil War and the 13th Amendment. George Washington. Why are we talking about George Washington and the Underground? I thought Harriet Tubman was. I thought the 1800s was no. This shit was going on back then because the white enslaved people need to get away from the colonies. Those debtor slaves who ran to the colony of Georgia, they needed to get away from this shit. They were the real runaways. 1786, George Washington complained about how one of his slaves ran away. President George Washington complained the fact that one of his one of mine ran away too on this Underground Railroad. One of his runaway slaves was helped by the Society of Quakers formed for the purpose. The system grew in around 1831. It was dubbed the Underground Railroad after then emerging steam railroads. All right, we finally are arriving at our subject matter. We're gonna start with Mr. John Brown first. We got to start with John Brown, who was an activist. Take that down. John Brown. It looks very similar to Lincoln, don't he? In fact, some people sometimes confuse him with Abraham Lincoln. John Brown. There's a photograph I want to show real quick on here of. Oh, it's the other one. Never mind. I'm tripping. So there's a merge photograph of John Brown and Harriet Tubman together. On the other page with Sojourner Truth, there's a photo with her and Lincoln together. He looks like Lincoln. Sojourner Truth looks like Tubman. It's uncanny. John Brown was an American evangelist who was a prominent leader in American abolitionist movement in the decades preceding the Civil War, first reaching the national prominence in 1850 for his radical abolitionist and fighting in the Bleeding Kansas. Brown was captured, tried, and executed in the Commonwealth of Virginia for the raid and incitement of slave rebellion at Harper's Ferry in 1859. What else was happening in America in 1850? Let's just take a look, shall we? What was the Missouri Compromise? The Missouri Compromise was a law passed 1820 and addressed the growing debate over slavery in the United States. The compromise admitted Missouri as a slave state and Maine as a free state, while also outlawing slavery in Louisiana Purchase north of the 3630 latitude. The compromise was also to preserve the balance of power between free states and slave states in Congress. It was a temporary solution for the controversy and was in effect over 30 years. The Kansas-Nebraska Act of 1854 repealed the Missouri Compromise, and the Supreme Court declared it unconstitutional in the Dred Scott decision 3 years later. 1820 to 1854. It's 30 years. We have to take a look at that time frame. Not today, but just for conversation. You guys have to examine that time period. A lot was going on in America. I'm gonna let that sit there for a second, and I'm gonna come back to that.
Let that marinate.
I didn't mean to click that, but hey, the universe said, "Gonna show them this real quick." We're gonna talk about that though. John Brown paid Harriet Tubman $25 in gold to help her recruit people for his raid in the federal arson of Harper's Ferry, Virginia, 1859. Kanye said, well, she didn't really free the slaves. She just took them, had them work for other white people. Kanye wasn't lying. Tubman raised funds for Brown through speaking engagements in New England. She collected almost $40 on the 4th of July presentation, which is equivalent to about $1,200 today. Harriet was getting paid. Harriet Tubman was getting paid. And the people she helped bring from Maryland, like her brother, they went back to the plantation. Like, bitch, you crazy. I'm about to go. I'm about to go back. I'm about to go back home. You bring us to work for other. No, we was already in plantation. I thought we was going freedom. Harry, like, nah, just help Mr. Brown out. And Mr. Brown turn around and give her $25. Appreciate it. Bring me some more bodies. And John Brown relied on Harriet Tubman to bring him more bodies. So did Harriet Tubman get paid to bring slaves? Was she really freeing the slaves, or just was Harriet Tubman the first Department of Labor?
Ooh.
Was Harriet Tubman the first Department of Labor? Bitch, you just taking us to other. Wait a minute. Are you tricking us? I thought we was going. Because look, when you say freedom, I thought we got freedom papers. We can go vote now. We can own land. You bringing us to this other white dude to help him do what? To help him do what? Bitch, I'm not blowing nobody's ferry. I'm about to go back to the plantation. I'm gonna show you where her brothers. They said we gone. We got to go back. That bitch crazy. She is crazy. She's collecting money. Just give me my money. Harriet Tubman is collecting money to bring John Brown he freed slaves. It's not funny, but it's hilarious. Let's go finish with John Brown real quick. Damn, Harriet. Damn, Harriet. Where is it at? There we go. Sorry. John Brown. An evangelical Christian of strong religious conviction, Brown was profoundly influenced by the Puritan faith. Remember the Puritans from yesterday? The Puritans were the ones who escaped Europe to come to the colonies to set up their belief. The Puritans, the Calvinists, the Brownists, the Quakers, they all came on a pilgrimage. They were the pilgrims. See the pilgrim hat and the shoes and the long socks? Yes, I pointed out yesterday because I knew today I was going to talk about this part of it right here. John Brown, an evangelical Christian of strong religious conviction, Brown was profoundly influenced by Puritan faith of his upbringing. He believed he was instrumental of God. Please remember these words. John Brown felt like God gave him a calling to do what he did. Okay. Sojourner Truth gonna say the same thing. Harriet Tubman gonna say the same thing. There was all a divine order. This was during a religious movement in North America. So everybody was doing something that was supposedly related to the calling of the Most High.
Yeah.
Let's continue.
He definitely was.
Crazy, bro.
According to
what you got?
According to the what was it at?
Did it say Jesus of Nazareth?
That's what I was looking at. Oh, there it is. Jesus the Nazarene.
This is, who name is this?
John Brown.
Oh God.
Listen. The energy does not change. It just transfers. The same way we've been reading the Bible is the same stuff we see today in history. The Bible is telling us everything about the energy of how to interpret what you see people do. So then we can put a context next to these names now and discover where these stories are coming from and the actions and the behavior of what we should expect from these type of people. So as the minister is explaining it, it's all right and exact. Jesus of Nazarene, and we all know what Jesus was doing.
God damn. John Brown in the geometric calculator equals Jesus the Nazarene. Can't make this stuff up, y'all. He believed that he was an instrument of God, raised to strike the death blow to American slavery, a sacred obligation. Brown was leading an exponent of violence in the American abolition movement, believing it was necessary to end American slavery. After decades of peaceful effort had failed, Brown said that working to free the enslaved, he was following Christian ethnic. Now we know the Christians enslaved people everywhere they went, so I don't know what the hell he's talking about right here. Christendom enslaved everybody under the 1493 Magna Carta, Intercaterra Cavina, Doctrine of Discovery. We know that this is a slam lie. Anyway, including the Golden Rule. What was the Golden Rule? There were okay. In the Declaration of Independence, which state that all men are created equal. We know that they weren't talking about certain people in this statement, so we can't take that with a grain of salt. He stated that his view, these two principles meant the same thing. Let's see. Brown first gained national attention when he was led an anti-slavery volunteers and his sons during the Bleeding Kansas crisis of 1850, a state-level civil war over whether Kansas would either be part of the Union as a slave state or a free state. Now, Kansas and Missouri, Kansas City, Missouri, the reason that Missouri was allowed to be a supposed slave state is because California then entered under the Union around 1823 as a free state. So they were trying to keep the balancing of powers between legislation and voting. That's all it was about. They didn't care two hoots about people of African descent or indigenous descent being in bondage. It was not the argument.
John
Remember,
Brown.
go ahead.
I was going to say John Brown is equivalent to the King James Bible in the simplest form of gematria.
Hold on, I want to pull it up.
King James Bible. He was literally the Bible.
Crazy. What does it say? It says these men are all talk when this is him quoting John Brown. These men are all talk. We need action. In May 1856, Brown and his sons killed 5 supporters of slavery in the Potamani massacre. Where's my thing at? As a response of sacking Lawrence by pro-slave forces, Brown then commanded anti-slavery forces at the Battle of Blackjack and the Battle of whatever that O word is right there. So as you can see, I mean, he turned into like a military commander pretty much. He was the Black Panther Party before the Black Panther Party was born. Like he wasn't for nonviolent. And I'm just trying to, and there's much more to John Brown. Just painting who he is. The location was Harper's Ferry. If you're not familiar with the Harper's Ferry area, please look up Harper's Ferry area. The Harper's Ferry raid, Brown's trial, both covered extensively in national newspaper and escalated tension that in the next year led to the South's longest threatened succession at the American Civil War. Southerners feared that others would soon follow in Brown's footsteps, encouraging the arming slaves rebellion. He was a hero and icon in the North. Union soldiers marched to a new song, John Brown's Body. Damn.
He also was equivalent to the Call of Duty.
You know, that's an infamous game on Xbox, fighting war game, Call of Duty. I love Call of Duty 1 and 2. That's crazy, man. They portray him as a heroic martyr. Brown has become variously described as a heroic martyr and a visionary, as a man-made in terrorist. He was a homegrown terrorist. They identified him as terrorist. He went against the government. What else is interesting here for him? Brown left the Hudson, Ohio, where he unsuccessfully tanner, situated, operated safely, and produced the Underground Railroad station. He moved to Richmond Township in Crawford County, Pennsylvania, and lived there to 1835. He bought 200 hectares, 81 hectares of land, cleared it, quickly built a cabin. His story is so similar to fucking Abraham Lincoln, to it's crazy. Like it's uncanny. He was in Springfield, I think, Massachusetts. Lincoln went to Springfield, Illinois. It's crazy. He builds a log cabin. Lincoln was in the log cabin. It's uncanny, the relatable similarities to that shit, right? Brown made money surveying new roads. He was also involved in erecting a school, which was first met at his home. He was its first teacher. So now he's starting his own little cult. I'm joking. He was his first teacher. He went back to Ohio. John Brown, 1846, moved to Springfield, Massachusetts as an agent for Ohio wool growers in relation to the New England manufacturers of wool goods, but also means of development of his scheme of an emancipation. This is John Brown. You see a lot of swarthiness, swarthy skin tone, just like you saw with Lincoln. 2 years before Brown arrived at Springfield, 1844, the city's African-American abolitionists had founded Stanford Street Free Church, now known as St. John's Congregational Church, which became one of the most prominent abolition platforms in the United States. From 1846 until he left Springfield in 1850, Brown was a member of a free church where he witnessed abolitionist lectures by the likes of Frederick Douglass and Sojourner Truth. Here we go. In 1847, after speaking to the Free Church, Douglas spent a night speaking with Brown. After Douglas wrote, from the night he spent with John Brown in Springfield, Massachusetts, 1847, while I continued to write and speak against slavery, I became all the same less hopeful for its peaceful abolition. 1850, Fugitive Slave Act. Write that down. 1850, Fugitive Slave Act. 1850, Fugitive Slave Act. So real quick, family, we just crossed the 2-hour mark. Thank you for rocking with me. Appreciate you guys rocking with me so long. We have a little bit more to go. We're gonna be done. Don't forget this Sunday. Tap in with me and the high priest. He's gonna be breaking down some numbers, numeric ciphers, breaking the code. He's gonna explain what the geometrium is and the importance of the geometrium. He's also gonna take a couple of volunteers from the audience and take your name and break you down. As a matter of fact, what's the day? Today it's too late. I was gonna say, matter of fact, it's not too late. Let's do this. If you're interested in joining us Sunday, shoot me an email. If you're interested in joining us Sunday, shoot me an email. That means you're gonna come on the platform with us live. I'm only gonna pick about 2-3 people tops. Okay, I'm gonna bring you on the platform. It's not gonna be rehearsed. No heads up. None of that stuff. Okay, we're going to shoot you the link. We're going to send you the link to join us on the platform on Sunday, myself along with the high priest, and we're going to do this stuff live and in person. Not just a geometrium calculator, but the brother does real work with this information. Okay, so tap in with us.
Tap in.
Don't forget to hit that like button, hit that share button too while we're doing this, man. So I just wanted to give you a little bit about John Brown. Of course, there's much more information about John Brown, aka Lincoln face looking ass. But that's John Brown. John Brown was actually a railroad conductor. John Brown was a railroad conductor. Abolitionist John Brown, railroad conductor in St. Cathedral, Canada. He was already a railroad conductor. That's how Harriet Tubman ended up getting her name, the conductor of the Underground Railroad. He actually ran the actual railroad company, not company, but he was a conductor of an actual railroad, John Brown. Now let's turn some attention over to the good sister Sojourner Truth. Here we go on our African thing. I'm gonna show you. Sojourner Truth was an African. Harriet Tubman was an African. Who else I said? Elizabeth Keys was an African, and Anthony Johnson was an African. I have 4 people to prove that you're Africans before we get out of here, and I'm gonna do it right now. Sojourner Truth. That's not Harriet Tubman. I know. Uncanting, isn't it? It's uncanting that her and Abraham Lincoln was together. It's uncanting that Harriet Tubman and John Brown was together. It's uncanting that Sojourner Truth looks like Harriet Tubman and John Brown looks like Lincoln. I didn't do it. Sojourner Truth, born Isabella Bumfree, November 26, 1797 to 1883, was an American abolitionist and activist for African and American civil rights. Every time you see that word African American, see that little dash connotes that it's like it's a break. It's not all one word. Africa is a continent. America is a continent. America is 3 continents, actually. These are 2 continents. So let's read it again, the way we know how to read it. She was born Isabella Bumfree, 1797, November 26 to 1883, was an American abolitionist and activist for African and American civil rights, women's rights, and alcohol temperance. Truth was born into slavery in Schuylkill, New York, but escaped with her infant daughter to freedom in 1826. After going to court to recover her son in 1828, she became the first Black woman to win such a case against white men. And you would be compelled to think that she was the first one. Oh, no. Where my sister at? That should go right here. Now this is 1826. She goes to court 1826. They said she's the first black woman to win such a case. I challenge it. I challenge it with a woman named Elizabeth Keys. Was the first woman of African descent to win the lawsuit for her freedom. Then why the hell they say that Sojourner Truth was the first one? Who's the first one according to the timestamp? Looks like Elizabeth Keys is. Let's see who Elizabeth Keys is real quick, shall we? Elizabeth Keys was the first woman of African descent to win a lawsuit for her freedom in North American colonies. She won her case in 1656. Key was born in 1630 to an enslaved African woman and a white planter named Thomas Key. Her case was based on the idea that since her father was English, she should be considered free under English law, which was wrong. She fell under what was called the word. I'll think of it in a second. There's a word, the condition of how she was born. I'll show you in a second. Elizabeth Freeman was an enslaved woman in Massachusetts who sued and won her case in 1700s. Freeman's master was a Colonel Ashley, a wealthy citizen and judge in Stratfield, Massachusetts. You're going to see a lot happen in Massachusetts or Boston. Prince Hall, Massachusetts. You're going to see, what's the brother name who got shot at the beginning of the Revolutionary War? Him, can call his name. You know what I'm talking about. A lot of people happen to be in Massachusetts at this time. Freeman overheard idea about liberty and equality from Ashley and others and sought to help from an attorney, Theodore Sedgwick. Sedgwick and his team filed a document of a writ of reprisal with Berkshire County Common Pleas 1781. Freeman later worked as a housekeeper for Sedgwick for about a decade. Here it is again. Now let's dig into Sojourner Truth. I already had that up. I'm sorry. Let me close it right here. She gave herself Sojourner Truth in 1843, became convinced that God had called her to leave her city. It's a lot of God calling going on. I'm not picking. I'm just saying everybody got the same thing in common during what was called the Third Great Awakening. Harriet Tubman says the same thing. John Brown says the same thing. God told them to do this. This is a calling from God to do this work. And going to the countryside, testifying, hope people what was there. Her best known speech delivered experimentally. Can you say that word? High priest? Can you hear me? Hear me out.
Say
What's
that?
That $5 word right there? Could you pronounce that word?
Extemporaneously.
Extemporaneously. Delivered.
Extemporaneously. Something of that nature.
Damn well
we need to look that up. That can cause a blockage. Look that up.
Oh, I'm definitely about to. Anytime I get to a word that I don't know, I'll look it up in a heartbeat.
Look that up. Somebody gonna fall asleep if they don't find out what that is.
Done, spoken, or performed without preparation. Oh, off the hip. She just shot off the hip, I would assume. For example, you might speak expeditiously when explaining to your parents why you were okay. I get it. So she was just off the hip. She was articulated very well on the spot. At Ohio's Women's Rights Convention in Akron, Ohio, the speech became widely known during the Civil War as the title, I Ain't Our Woman. Ain't Our Woman. It's a speech generally considered to have been delivered, that E word, by Sojourner Truth, born into slavery. Now, we can stop right here and say Sojourner Truth was born into slavery, or we can keep digging to find out where the hell she come from. Sojourner Truth, point one, pay attention. Sojourner Truth, once estimated, was born between 1797 1800. Truth was 10 or 12 children born to James Elizabeth Bomfrey. Her father was an enslaved man captured from present-day Guyana, while her mother was named Mamu Bet, was a daughter of a slave captured from Guinea. Her parents are from Guinea and Guyana. That's my first one. I'm going to make a mark on my paper while y'all catch up. She was an African. Thank you, Solo. Christmas Addicts, yeah. That's the first one. Now I'm going to go back and show you Harriet Tubman was also an African. Sojourner Truth, her parents were both from Africa. Guinea and Ghanaian. Not from America. Time frame, 1800s. Time frame reference, 1830. Your people got kicked off the land in America. Not brought on ships. Not exported from America. Just pushed over a little bit. Once y'all go 2 or 3 states over. Just go over a little bit. Just scoot over a little bit. And we're going to bring these Africans in while y'all scoot over. You guys are indistinguishable anyway. I don't know. They wear feathers and they wear feathers. They have ostrich feathers in their hat. You guys have turkey feathers. Okay, now we understand who you are. That's the first one. African. Let's go at the Harriet Tubman real quick. Because we ain't done with her ass. Getting paid. Getting paid by the man. Born into slavery. Hold on, my bad. I didn't pull up on the screen. My bad. I thought I was up there on the screen. Let's go to Harriet Tubman. I got 2 more people to prove from Africa. Then I'm going to get out of here. Born to slavery in Dutcher County, Maryland, Tubman was later beaten, whipped, and enslaved as an early child. Early in life, she suffered from traumatic head wound. When an irate overseer threw a heavy metal weight intended to hit another slave, but hit her in the head. Yeah, this is when she started getting her dizzy spells in her visions from the Most High. Do what she could do. Tubman was born in where? Minty, born Armenian. Minty, this is her real name right here. Rose, enslaved parents Harriet, Ritz, Green, Ben, Ross. Ritz, enslaved by Maryland. Where is it at? Ben, this is her brother, was enslaved by Anthony Thompson, who became Mary's Bordas' second husband and ran a large plantation near Blackwater River in Madison or area, Dorchester County, Maryland. Tubman's maternal grandmother modestly arrived in the U.S. on a slave ship from Africa. So we know her grandparents come from Africa, which means if her grandparents came from Africa, then her parents were African also. Don't worry, I have more. Just relax. I'm just walking you into who Harriet was. No information is available about her other ancestors. Which is crazy, because if she was indigenously from that area, then who's in that area? The Pamunkey, the Wampanoag up there, Pamunkey, Wampanoag, not Muskogee. It's like 2-3 other dark-skinned tribes that are from that area. She has no connection to these people. Let's keep on, because you're not convinced she's from Africa. Let's do this. Let's put in Harriet Tubman. Is from Africa. Let's just see what happens right here. She was born. Okay, she was born in Dorchester. Hold on. Where is it at? I got it somewhere right here. Hold on. Her people are from Africa. She was born in America, but she's at, there it is right here. I know I'm fucking tripping. This is the National Park Service.gov site. Conductor on the Underground Railroad, military leader, suffrage, and descendant of Ashton ethnic group in Guyana. Ashanti ethnic group in Guyana. So beside Sojourner Truth, she's Ghanaian. And what was the other one for Sojourner Truth? Guinea. She's Ghanaian and Guinean. Harriet Tubman is Ghanaian of the Ashanti ethnic group. So I'm gonna make a check beside Harriet Tubman name. Now we just got to prove that Anthony Johnson is from Africa also, and Elizabeth Keys is from Africa also. These are Africans. These are Africans. This is African and American history. Harriet Tubman from Africa. Let's go to Miss Keys real quick. We did Sojourner Truth. Harriet Tubman. Elizabeth Keys. Elizabeth Keys. Elizabeth Keys. Let's find out where Elizabeth Keys come from. This is the term right here that she was trying to find. It's partus seclorum vitrum. That's when you're born under the conditions of the mother. Her argument was her father was a wealthy white landowner. She should go under his laws. Unfortunately, that was kind of the case until the 1700s, until they decided to implement partus seclorum vitrum, which means that the child will be born under the conditions of his mother. If his mother's a slave, the child will be a slave automatically by default. That comes from the Code Noirs and other stuff. There we go. Indentured servant, 16, Galston, the Freedom Suit, Freeborn. Oh, this is interesting right here. She was a mulatto because her father was a free white person of color. Believing Thompson Keys paternal was proved by common law. The court granted Elizabeth Keys her freedom. Martyrium Estate appealed the decision to the General Court, which overturned and ruled Elizabeth Keys was a slave because her mother's status was Negro. Damn. She was mulatto. So again, the point I'm trying to stress out to you guys is this is African history. This is African history. Elizabeth Scott Keys' descendants are from Africa. Keys was born in present-day Newport News, Virginia. Probably African-born, slave woman to Thomas Keys. Because her father was a white Englishman, they gave her a break, but due to the fact that her mother was African from Africa, they reversed the decision. Elizabeth Keys, also African. Now we have one more. Anthony Johnson.
According to Wikipedia, Anthony Q. Johnson was an American mixed martial.
They gave us the damn fighter. We ain't going nowhere for her. Anthony Johnson was an Angolan-born man who achieved wealth in the early 17th century of Virginia. He was also African. Anthony Johnson was African. Elizabeth Keys was African. Harriet Tubman, African. Sojourner Truth, African. These were all African people from Africa, the African descent. During this time frame, let's just say from 1830 to 1865, your indigenous people from North America had nothing to do with these stories. Nothing. Anthony Johnson was Portuguese Angolan. What you think?
I think you really made a great distinguish between who we are and what the so-called like to shed light on. It's just it's crazy how they keep bringing up these same names to tie you to these particular people that are actually tied to another continent. And now, for you to just that point you made earlier was crazy. Like I still can't get over that. Like they couldn't distinguish the two.
Nah, they know who they were. Now, was Harriet Tubman out here just saving Negroes all across America who were enslaved? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. John Brown paid Harriet Tubman $25 in gold to help her recruit people for his raid on the federal arsenal, Harper's Ferry in Virginia in 1859. She was being compensated to go get them people off the plantation. Point blank, period. That's why I wish whoever the brother was earlier would have just stuck around and saw that part. I would love to hear what they had to say about that part.
Question.
Answer.
What was John Brown's profession?
Oh yeah, many. I was showing earlier. He worked at a wool factory. He ended up becoming a conductor, an actual railroad conductor.
$25 is a lot of money back then.
He was a landowner. He had like I just showed it earlier how many acres of land he had. He was a wealthy landowner.
Right.
He was paid. He had money.
You did. You showed that. Damn.
John Brown paid Harriet. Now, y'all should have a problem with this, but a lot of people probably won't because psychoneurosis is still lingering. Like this actual lecture probably won't hit people until 2 years from now. Crom can tell you, like shit we talked about 9 years ago is just now making sense to people. So I'm used to that. I just find it something to be pretty interesting. Pretty interesting.
Wait, go back up. They said Harriet Tubman was unable to participate in the raid because she became ill.
The raid failed and Brown captured and executed 6 weeks later. She was just helping to recruit people. She was just helping to recruit men to come help him start the rebellion.
Amazing.
Payment. Brown paid Tubman the gold April 14th, 1858 from funds provided from Garrett Smith, a white abolitionist from Petersboro, New York. Smith was one of 6 white men who provided financial support for Brown's plan, known as the Secret Six. Tubman also raised funds for Brown through speaking engagement. You out here raising money for this white? Oh boy, there's just so much wrong with this.
So when I start to think about this, it's almost like he paid her to do the recruitment. They will basically do these raids. But what was what was supposed to be the end result or the agenda? Was he supposed to take over these plantations and make them his own?
No, the whole thing was Brown wanted to cripple the movement of slavery through these various raids, and then the raid on Harper's Ferry was going to be one of the final blows to kind of take out some of the ships and to kind of cripple them from Remember, Harper's Ferry was a port. This is where they were importing the so-called enslaved people. So this is one of his first attacks, one of his big attacks. The little skirmishes were small and minute, but his result was to kick off this abolition movement. And keep in mind, shortly after this, the Civil War was incited. But the Civil War was incited. Oh boy, hold on. 1858. Keep that in mind. Harper's Ferry is 1859. Let's go back to the 1861, which is 2 years after Harper's Ferry. Where's it at? So right there, 1859, real quick. I'm gonna show you what else was going on at or around that time frame. Bam. In 62, the District of Columbia, which is Maryland, DMV, Tubman was in Maryland. The District of Columbia Compensation Act of 1862 was a law that freed enslaved people in Washington, D.C., while also compensating their owners and offering free people opportunities to do what? Immigrate. The indigenous people they're already here. It's the foreign people who are not from here, aka the Africans, who had a chance now to become immigrants through assimilation. Freed enslaved people, the act freed 3,100 people in the District of Columbia. The compensation owners, the act compensated owners $300 for each freed person. Imagine how much that was. If Harriet Tubman got $25, which was $1,200, imagine how much $300 was for each person they freed. This is 1862. This is prior to the Emancipation Proclamation. This is not that. Lincoln did this. Lincoln signed off on this in 62, which is 2 years after the raid of Harper's Ferry, which is go ahead.
He died. John Brown already died.
Yeah, they executed him.
Got you. Okay, because I was thinking he was doing something else. Okay.
No,
I got you.
John Brown. What I'm showing is the progression of what the attitude of 1859 Harper's Ferry, fugitive slave laws in place. The fear of the South was the rebellious Negroes of the North would incite the rebellious Negroes of the South to run off the plantations and kill them. That's why when Nat Turner hit Virginia, which was real close to them in the South, the black codes were implemented almost instantaneously. The first of the black codes, the black Christian codes. Then after Reconstruction, they implemented the second set of Christian black codes. But 1862, a law was passed that Lincoln gave compensation to the slave owners to free their slaves. This was incentivized. This was to shake the South. The South was already afraid that something was coming down the pipe. This is on the cusp of succeeding. They wanted to succeed. This gave them all the ammunition they need to succeed from the North, because talking about freeing people was encroaching on the economy of the South. 62, the act of compensating. President Abraham Lincoln signed the act into law in 62. Senator Henry Wilson of Massachusetts. We're never going to leave Massachusetts, ever. Original sponsor of the act, the District of Columbia Emancipated Act, was a result of decades agitation against slavery in the nation's capital. The Compromise of 1850 had prohibited slave trade in Washington, D.C., but slavery remained legal until the act was passed. So 1850 Great Compromise had prohibited slavery in Washington, D.C., but for another 12 years, slavery was still lawfully practiced until the act was passed. And anytime you see the word act, I mean, it went through legislation. It went through the executive and legislative branch. Act is a law, federal law. So that's the Emancipation Compensation Act. Now, because the colonies were founded on slavery, let me show you one more compensation that these YTs received. Congressional Compensation Act of 1789, also known as the 20th Amendment, United States Constitution Amendment, that prevented change to compensation Congress members of taking effect until the next election. Hold on. Oh, this ain't it right here. Hold on. This is not it. Oh, this is it. I'm sorry. There was another Compensation Act prior in 1789 where the colonies received compensation from Europe to also free the slaves. Emancipation Compensation Act by Lincoln. While all this is happening at the same time simultaneously, I want you guys to be aware of people that look like you also own slaves. Everything I just taught y'all tonight becomes imperative to understand. Then you'll start begin to look at, oh, Harriet Tubman did get paid to free them slaves. Sojourner Truth, these are Africans. What were the indigenous people of America doing at this time? What were the Native Americans doing during the 1820s, 30s, 50s, 60s? Because you really don't see Indians on TV, well, televised and movies and such until after 1849 gold rush. You start seeing cowboys and Indians. That was later. What did the other Indians look like on the East Coast? And what were they doing during Harriet Tubman's time? What was happening? Why was people of color so assimilated with agriculture and planting and farming and plantations and cotton and agriculture and HBCUs? And you guys were the Indians. Simple and plain. That's it. We're the Indians. African American slave owners within the history of the United States existed in some cities and others, plantation owners and counties. During this time, ownership of slaves significantly both wealth increase and social status. The original practice precedes the timeline of slavery in the United States. Inhabitants of Africa practiced various forms of slavery in late antiquity. Accordingly, black slaves become owners of slaves and relatively common living in the United States in 1850. 1850, circle 1850 on your paper. These events remain controversial topics among proponents of Afrocentrism. Afrocentrism, that's the RBG. Those are the people who promote that you're out of Africa, along with Franz Boas and others. Slave owners include a comparatively small number of people, at least partial African ancestry. Slave owners included a comparatively small number of people, at least partial African ancestry. So now you understand, what's his name? Anthony Johnson didn't have a dog in the fight when it came to local indigenous people in America. He didn't care one way or another. He wasn't from here. And back to Harriet Tubman. Harriet Tubman was only concerned about freeing her family. She's only concerned about freeing her family. She was concerned about coming to Alabama and free nobody down there. Yes, Harriet Tubman brothers returned. Her brothers went back. Watch this. Oh, it's the same one. I'm sorry. After she went to Maryland to get her family, they returned back to the plantation. Let me read this first. Harriet Tubman returned to the plantation multiple times to rescue her family and friends from slavery. 1849, Tubman escaped slavery with the help of Underground Railroad and found freedom in Philadelphia. 1850, she returns to Maryland to free her family and friends. You might turn down a little bit, please. Tubman returns to Maryland to free her family and friends. She became a conductor on the Underground Railroad after a successful first trip. She ain't got no license to drive a train. She didn't actually drive a train. She got the name conductor from John Brown. Tubman returned to Maryland to free her husband, John, but he had remarried and refused to come with her. Damn.
What?
Tubman returned to Maryland 13 times to free more than 70 family and friends. That's it. That's it. Write it down. Take a picture. I don't know. They try to romanticize like Harriet Tubman out here freeing everybody in America. She freed 70 people. That's it. Harriet Tubman was Underground Railroad. She went to Maryland and took her ass back to Boston. That was it. That was it. When she took her family to Canada, actually, and came back down from Canada. She didn't go to South Carolina and get nobody. She didn't go to Alabama, pick nobody up. She didn't go to Mississippi, pick nobody up. She didn't go nowhere where it was really was cracking at. She didn't go nowhere near that. 13 trips, which was a lot. Now, this is hostile territory. She had a bound on her head and everything. So she, thug life. 70 family and friends. That's it. She earned a nickname Moses for liberating so many enslaved people. Tubman's family was separated when her mother struggled to keep them together. 3 of Tubman's sisters were sold to other plantation owners. Tubman's father was released from slavery at the age of 45, but he remained working on the same plantation. What? So her daddy done with his servitude, but he remained there. I'm going to teach y'all about that one day too. Why wouldn't her daddy go ahead and just go? Why would he stay there? 45 is pretty young. I'm 42. I would have left. Unless there's a psychological condition that took place. Unless the psychoneurosis had already sat in. And her father was convinced, I'm better off just being here. I'm better off just being here.
No, that's not what happened. He probably got freed, but his family didn't. That's why he stayed.
That also happens too. She only went back to Maryland to free her people. That's the only reason we went back to Maryland. Nobody extra got free, but her people, right? Where I put it at? Yes, Harriet Tubman's brother returned to Maryland after she escaped slavery with them in 1849. They went back. Now, I have to start tabbing stuff when I find it. When I was researching, they went back because they found out that she was being compensated.
Say it ain't so.
You on the plantation now. I come to get you to take you north for freedom. What would make you go back to the plantation? You called me and say, hey, bro, I'm being mistreated, man. They taking advantage of me over here, bro. I said, I'm gonna come tonight at 2:00 in the morning. Meet me down by the river. I'm gonna bring you to Atlanta for freedom. Once I bring you to Atlanta for freedom, what is it that you have to see or witness to cause you to go back?
Damn.
What would make you go back?
Nah, not because she got paid. Come on.
Oh,
Not
yeah.
that.
Yes, she was getting paid. Well, I told you she got paid already. While on their journey, the brothers heard that their mistress, Elizabeth Broadus, had placed an ad in the paper offering a reward for their return. They decided to return to the plantation to avoid capture and punishment.
What?
Tubman left again, this time alone, and successfully escaped. She used the Underground Railroad to make her way north through Delaware and Pennsylvania, eventually settling in Philly. A few years later, Tubman returned to the eastern shore of Maryland to try to free her brothers on Christmas Eve in 1854. She returned to emancipate her brothers Ben, Harry, and Robert from slavery. That's it. That's all. Peace and love, Francis. How you feeling?
Say hello.
Hi.
Okay.
That's all, brother. That's all.
Powerful.
But as per usual, man, I appreciate you riding me, man. I'm super excited about Sunday.
Tomorrow.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was tomorrow. Once again, family, check in with us tomorrow, where the good brother will be going Hamilton. with the geometrium, breaking down the numbers. And again, if you're interested in joining us up here on the platform, shoot me an email at the moipodcast@gmail.com. I will gladly send you over the link. You can definitely come up here and join us. And I want you guys to just bear witness of the brother's powerful demonstration as he breaks down the geometrium and decode your name. He's taking your name and decoding your name.
Name.
You ain't got to fill out no form, where you were born and your mama mate. We don't need no information. The more anatomous it is, the more mind-blowing it would be for you.
You're welcome.
You know what I'm saying? I don't know what you're talking about. So
Ain't
once
that
again,
Snoop
brother,
Dogg's last name?
I appreciate you, brother. Definitely join us tomorrow right here live on the network. Shouts to Crumb TV, man. And we appreciate you guys. Come over to TikTok. Find me on TikTok. Misinformation. I'm at the 4,000 mark, man, and growing. Check out the website also. Shoot me an email at the MOI podcast@gmail.com. I got my first, second, third order today. The promo going to October 30th. I'm going to keep pushing the brand, keep pushing the mark. I got to get you a hoodie too, bro. I got to get you a hoodie. We got to figure out some
Yo, large. That's all you need to know. Large.
All right. Say less. 3 different variations right here: the Urban Legacy, the Creator joint, and the Misinformation joint. I need to put my own joint on too. You know what I'm saying? So, but thanks again. Appreciate it, man. It's been another amazing live. I'm gonna try to chop some of this content up to put it on TikTok for those who missed it, man. Appreciate you again, man. Take it easy, brother. We'll talk to you tomorrow, man. Peace and blessings.
All right.
You will see a bottle of this laying on your bed, baby oil. You will be like, who put this in my cell? Ain't nobody gonna say nothing.